Special guest in conversation this week. He's celebrating his unofficial comedy world record, 28 countries, 4 languages. I first saw him years ago at the Shaw Theatre.
Wow.
On these, that old. I mean, I was a regular of this man. Since then, he's done marathons. He appeared in what I thought was one of my favourite films, which was Boy Choir, a short while ago. And I only bought it on off chance. I went, oh, Boy Choir, that sounds fun, with Dustin Hoffman and Eddie Izzard. And it took me about 15 minutes to realise who Eddie Izzard was in the film. Because I thought, very good. Very good. And I loved it to pieces. Anyway, he's back. Next year, we are talking next year.
Yeah.
They're sticking you into the Palace Theatre for an extended run now.
Yeah, I'm sort of sticking me in.
Sticking you in.
Well, this, if you're choosing West End theatres, the Palace is a beautiful one. If people can't work out which one is which, because unless you encyclopedically get on the names, it's the one at Cambridge Circus. It's got that big frontage. It's just.
I think currently it's got Darren Brown.
It's got Darren Brown.
I believe so.
And then it's a lovely one to go in, because some of them are tucked away and you say, you were on the West End, I didn't see that one, man.
Yeah, you can't miss it.
No, exactly. You can't miss it. And it's called Force Majeure Reloaded. So the tour. I like the way you say it is an unofficial world record, because you can get an official one, or I just claim unofficial ones.
So much better.
I think so. It saves a lot of checking.
It does, doesn't it?
But I am encouraging people to phone in right now. Anyway, or send. Remember the days where you send in a stamped addressed envelope, remember that thing, and say if it's not. But I checked, and there's someone has done 27 countries, so I thought I'll just go.
Who? Somebody important?
His name was walked out of my head. Russell Peters, Canadian comedian of Indian heritage, Indian extraction, and he is very international, plays all around the place. And he wrote in his Wikipedia entry, or in something, that he'd done 27 countries on his last one. So I thought I just got to get Iceland, and then I'm on 28. So I grabbed that. But dreadful. Food's dreadful. They tell me in Iceland.
Oh no!
Yeah, they do. Well, it's a lot of fish. No, I was there. Was that?
Oh, do you like fish?
Yeah. Well, don't like them all.
No.
Don't like them coming around my house.
No.
But they they do have a lot of fish, because they're an island, whereas we in the United Kingdom are a continent. But no. Remember the cod wars? Do you remember the cod wars? We went out there. They were throwing cod at us. We were throwing cod back.
Yeah.
We sent out gunships to say,
yes,
we will kill you if they
protect our fishing rights.
Yes, that was.
And
weird,
I'm told that an awful lot of cod that you buy in the fish and chip shops is in fact river cobbler. Have you heard that from Vietnam? Could you tell the difference? River cobbler.
And has that can they make shoes in rivers? Is that
so,
why it's called river cobbler?
I can't tell the difference between fish. If you go to a fish and chip shop now, I couldn't tell what I was eating. If somebody says this is cod or this is haddock, haddock's a little bit stronger, but I wouldn't know what I was eating.
I couldn't tell. I can never tell. And if they say, because if you go to different countries, the fish have completely different names.
Yes.
And John Dory is called Pierre Dory or something, but I don't know what they are in the first place. So if I say it's a fish, I just know it's fish. But fish is good for you. It's got omega-3 oils in it, not omega-2 oils or omega-1 oils, which are awful, and omega-4 oils, which no, I don't know what they are.
Do you worry about that?
Sorry?
Do you worry?
No, I just like the fact that it's omega-3 and we obsess about it. But what's the 2 and the 1? We don't know. It's like Ocean's 11. People say I didn't see Ocean's 10 or 8. So I just think fish is apparently good, and as long as it's dead, don't eat it live. But then a lot of big fish eat fish live.
Yes, I watched some of these fishing I don't know why I'm watching. You were saying before we started, we were sort of chatting, and I said I'm currently watching Sunday Night at the London Palladium.
Like in a general box set kind of way?
Yes, it's a box set, and it's got different people on, like Ted 321, what's his face?
Oh, from the old days,
the old days. Oh, yes, these are
not
the
latest
ones.
one.
No. Jimmy Tarbuck doing the swinging, dodgy, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Bruce Forsyth was hosting.
Yes.
And the acts are really interesting. On this one I was watching this morning, Mike and Bernie Winters were doing their act. Clodagh Rogers was singing The Young Generation. I mean, I can't remember how old you are, whether or not you fit into this.
I'm at 25 now.
Fantastic. You look brilliant.
I know.
Seriously, I mean, those omega-3 are working.
I mean, I'm drinking a bucket of omega-3.
I'm going to start eating myself, I think. But I was watching it thinking, entertainment on the television has actually changed phenomenally. It really has. I mean, from what we get on the television now, we don't really have variety shows. And I quite like the variety shows. You were doing it at the Shaw Theatre. There was you, and there were other people coming on as well. First time I saw John Maloney was down there.
Right, yeah. John Maloney's doing very good stuff at the moment.
Yeah.
I just saw him recently. So you saw the Saw Theatre when I was doing the Raging Bull Club there,
Yeah.
as opposed to, because I did a run there for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Before I went West End.
Yeah.
But first time. But it's interesting because we're talking a lot about fish, because it would seem like my show is
you're
all
talking
about fish. No, we both got into fish. No, you started talking about fish, and now you're talking about the Sunday Night at the Palladium, and not the latest one, but the old ones, the ones from the 1490s.
Yes, the 1490s.
Yes, with Henry VIII and his 93
The Henry VIII Orchestra was fantastic.
They're good.
Doing those little dances, green sleeves.
Which I think you can sing on radio because it's out of
out of copyright?
Out of copyright.
I remember once being on a television show and we started singing Happy Birthday in our earpiece. Somebody was going, "Stop singing, stop," because it costs money.
Yes.
And so every time you sing something, because somebody wrote it.
Yeah, but green sleeves were habit.
Are you
no
sure?
one can remember. No, I'm pretty sure. I think we could Google it right now.
Robin of Locksley didn't write it or something.
Robin of Locksley, but he's ill. If not dead, he's very.
I think it was fried duck. Fish.
Well, they're all myths.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they were.
No, he wasn't. He existed.
Robin Locksley.
He did, sure.
No, but a lot of them were myths.
Were they myths?
Myths. I can't
I can see what road we're heading down here, and I'm going to drag you back.
No, I don't know where we're going.
No, I don't know where we're going. Well, I had a rough idea where we were talking about myths.
No, I didn't know where I was going. Because I just toured France, you see, with this show, which is now coming into London.
What's that got to do with it?
Because it means it's been road tested. It's at the height of its heightness, you see.
But this
and they can't
majeure,
pronounce myth very well.
Yeah, myth.
Because the TH.
It doesn't force majeure. Isn't it something to do with contract? Don't they put this in a contract?
Exactly.
It's a disclaimer, isn't it?
It means if a force of nature happens. If a force of nature is action, you get no cash and you can go and live in a ditch. And that's what it means. But I think force of nature you can apply it to yourself. That's what I'm trying to anyone. And if life is like a river, you have to paddle. You know, there's those canoeists. They paddle like crazy. They don't just leisurely paddle. They paddle like crazy. And that's what I think you have to do. You have to be your own force of nature in life and paddle your way through life to get to a good place, so that when you die and explode at the end of your life, that you're happy, or in a weird place. Or
God, I wish I was drinking. I really do.
But
because I wanted something so surreal. I don't know if I'm in the bubble, out of the bubble.
This is interesting because in France, I claim I'm doing surreal comedy, and they say, "Well, you're doing it's absurdist," and I'm saying, "Well, actually, it's surreal." And someone from the V&A Museum said it is actually surreal what you're doing, and they don't have much surreal comedy. They have 5 surreal comedians because I think because of the Second World War. I think after the Second World War in Vichy France, they decided we can't do just silly, because that's the essence of surreal. Is it's just bonkers. But now I try and do bonkers with meaning, because I do I start with human sacrifice. That's where I start, because I've worked out there's a logical point in human sacrifice when they used to do it, that somebody.
Aztecs.
The Vikings. I didn't realize the Vikings were doing it. Yeah, because there's a program called Vikings. Watch it, and you'll see. Well, somebody obviously said, "Look, the weather's bad, the crops have failed, the gods obviously hate us, so we're going to kill Steve."
No, wait a minute. A lot of mention of God, but you don't do God.
No, I'm not. I'm not a God person.
But you must have.
I'm happy for him to come down and say hello.
Gotta be right.
But he's got to answer for World War II. Just a few questions on that. Why didn't
answer for Paris as well?
Well, everything not nice.
Yes.
And why not just the good stuff, please?
Yeah.
But the Greek gods, they were capricious. Is capricious the right word? Or pernicious, or all the
probably
issuses.
More pernicious. I think.
They were all the issuses, and they make more sense because life is like that. Life can be helter and skelter and all.
Would you
that.
have lived in those times? Because you've lived in Roman times.
No, I would refuse to. I would have said space scarf, please. Yeah, well, we would have. We'd have had to, wouldn't we? Yes, I could have lived at any particular time. I'd have quite liked, because I'm watching my brothers switched me on to the Viking thing with Thrus. The Last Kingdom. That's it.
Oh right,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, Last Kingdom. Yeah.
I'm not sure I like the Vikings. It was all rape and pillage. Wasn't
I know,
it?
but this guy, he's a Saxon who's grown up. He was captured by the Vikings, so he's grown up Viking, so he knows their ways, and he goes around with a big sword down the back in the diagonal way, which looks cool, rather than just bringing it out from the front.
God, I'm having a strange out-of-body experience. I do beg your pardon. I don't know where I am.
I know, that's what happens, but then at least we're face to face.
You do this all the time in your interviews.
No, well, this is like, I drink coffee, and then off we go.
And then off we go.
But imagine it in French. I had to do this in French, where I sat for an hour and a half with a lot of very groovy French people, but trying to do this in French, and that is a masterclass of oral exam. If you remember your oral when you took it at school.
I didn't do oral.
You didn't do oral?
No, I didn't want to.
That sounds like we're going somewhere else.
No, you're going. No.
No.
Because you went to prep school, so did you do oral at prep?
Yeah, well, no, if you do the exam, you have to do an oral thing, don't
I didn't
you?
do an exam.
Oh, you didn't do it?
I did Latin.
Did you do it?
I didn't find many people to converse with.
No, they weren't chatty. The Latin people aren't chatty. I always thought. I actually think it's useful now to have a bit of Latin. Oh, I got a trick for languages. If it's 3 syllables or more, try it in English with the accent. No, it's true. Okay, transportation. Elevation. I'm not sure if that's one correct, but they're all Latin words. You see, they're all Latin words.
Right. It all goes back.
Irrigation.
Irrigation.
And again, I'm not sure if that one is true, but I think they are. Just try them.
Do you have a partner?
A partner? What, a business partner?
No, just partner, as in partner.
At the moment, I am between relationships, but I'm a tricky person to have a relationship with.
I was just going to say, how does somebody keep up with it? Do you go out with people?
Just the conversations, you mean? Or
just anything.
Just travelling, or
just anything. I mean, the travelling I understand, because
you've got travelling sexuality, and you've got the speed at which I talk. So all these things make it tricksy, but that's okay because life can be complicated. I've got a few things worked out, and other things have got less worked out.
You've got better over the years at everything. I mean, so they say. I read it once. He's much better, than he used to be.
That's a great thing to say to someone in an interview.
Got better.
If you say, God, "You've really gone off since the," because a lot of people say, "I love your early work." That's usually the classic line.
But it is great. But that's the advantage of YouTube, you see, because YouTube now and the internet, which was when you started, and when I started, we didn't really have the internet. We didn't have anything like that at all. No. Now, I can put you in, as they say, to Google, and I can see everything about you. I can see all the videos, I can see the DVDs, I can see the tours, I can see the interviews you've done, everything. I think the internet is phenomenal.
It is.
Unfortunately, it uses up material. It's like television coming in, and so people can nick your material. Yours a bit more difficult to nick than anybody else's.
People used to say that people were doing my style.
Yes.
This was the thing, and some very nice, very supportive comedians. When I left the comedy circuit, were coming up and saying, "This guy's doing your style." Yeah. So I went and watched a certain person, and I watched it, and I quite liked what they were doing because it was in my style. So I kind of like the sound of it.
I have to stop you just very quickly. Yep. I should have taken a break a few minutes ago, so we have to take a very quick break.
Okay.
Then we'll come back.
Yep.
Okay. More from Eddie Izzard, Force Majeure, after this. Special guest in conversation. I tell you, this is the most bizarre interview I've ever had in my entire life. I'm normally used to sort of people sitting there, I ask a question, and then, they answer back politely, and they've done about 10 interviews that day, and I always think, you really hate me because you've done so many interviews, where with you, it's not like an interview, it's just like...
I'm having a chat.
It's called keeping up.
Yeah, but you're doing well, except for the fact that you're saying you're struggling. I was thinking you were doing great.
Oh, well,
but no, there's a thing I noticed with interviewers. There was Clive Anderson used to sit down. He had quite an. I don't think he does them anymore, but he used to have quite an aggressive. Right off the front step, and I realised that if you ask him a question before he's asked you a question, that is quite an interesting thing. And I sat down and said, "Where'd you get that tie?" And then so he was going, "You can't ask me about ties before." That was kind of interesting. But no, I'm just chatting.
It's a clever thing to do, actually, because I think most people in your business, actors, and you seem to divide your time quite nicely between the acting world and film, and you've done a lot of stage and you've done your marathon stuff. You're a very fit person, and then you were sort of the first person that sort of came out as a transvestite, and people going, "What's he doing?" And then it just became acceptable. Nobody bothered about Eddie Izzard and what he was wearing. I just assumed the fact that if you wanted to wear nail varnish, why not, for God's sake? It didn't make it. Yeah. Didn't make any difference to us. You kind of said,
is it.
I don't care.
If we can hit boring, I think if LGBT can hit boring, once someone says, "I'm gay," you go, "Great, well, what do you do for them?" "Oh, I make soup." "Hey, is it good soup?" "No, it's awful." "Well, I don't like your soup then. Even though you're gay, I'm not going to eat your soup. I would expect it to be fantastic soup." But that's... and I also think LGBT people have to be brilliant at what they do. If we can all be brilliant, then people are going to say, something's gone wrong. Quick, get some LGBT, get some people who can say LGBT, and they will sort it out, because we need to be overachievers. So that's the little task for us.
Because I actually know a number of transgender people, people who are living
which is what
as women.
That's my the title has changed from transvestite. Because I was TV, then it's transvestite,
and nobody knew what TV was, and then I thought, it'll be married men who want, because they did say at one time in hotel rooms the one thing that was always left behind was women's clothing, because a lot of heterosexual men would go to a hotel so that they could put clothes on and dress. Then there became places you could go to, a transformation centre where like-minded men could go there and somebody would show you how to do your makeup.
Oh, there was a help group in Upper Street. That's when I first came out.
Is that where you first went?
Yeah, in 1985, 30 years ago. Yeah.
Good God, is it really?
Yeah, this is 30 years ago. And then Caitlyn Jenner came out just recently, and it's been a big... I'm doing these jokes in America where I'm saying, do you realise, America, you're at the forefront of transgender politics without wishing to be there? Because there's people obviously going, honey, you realise we're at the forefront of transgender politics? I'm just eating my breakfast. I'm just having grits and soup and whatever we have for breakfast, and apple, sausage, bacon, and chicken liver, and they suddenly jumped forward without choosing it. There's just had a lot of coverage and front covers, and I'm sitting there going, 30 years ago I came out, and it wasn't cool 30 years ago.
Oh, I can remember
cool
April Ashley, who used to have April Ashley was sort of an early person. I remember going to see drag in the Vauxhall Tavern, and all these different places in London, the Cricketers at Battersea, and you'd look at these people and think, God, you're really good, this is fantastic, and it became an art form. And then you suddenly realised that they were just putting it on for entertainment and singing and dancing and miming, which was mainly the thing. And then all of a sudden, Big Brother starts throwing up a few people who are part sex change, part transgender. And I used to sit there and go, right, which is the one who's going to do this time round? And you'd have a woman who was transferring to man, and people wanted to talk about it.
Transitioning would be the word you're searching for.
Thank you. I didn't search. I just thought I'd wait for you to chip in. As I knew you would.
No, well, see, this new language has come out because it's how you self-identify. This has really been helpful to me. Because I've got boy and girl genetics. I wanted to be, I wanted to do paratroops or Marines and then go special forces. This was my serious plan when I was a kid. I was planning that. But then I've done sort of special forces of just wearing a dress and walking out a door in 1985. That was pretty special forces. The amount of mind control I needed to stop the fear. The fear of walking out the door.
Fear of what?
Fear of humiliation in the street, people pointing at you, screaming, laughing, shouting, hurling abuse at you, screaming, taunting, and physical violence, I suppose, is the next level. But I found I used to shout back at people. Teenage kids were tough. They will look for power. They look for power situations where they go, hey, there's someone who's an adult, but in a weaker power situation than us. Teenage girls. That was the first. I was sort of, what was I? I was bullied by teenage girls the first day I was out, because they recognised that I was a guy, wearing a dress. So they say, "Why are you wearing a dress? Why are you?" Followed me. They were following me. I had to go away from home for about. We're talking about for 20 minutes, half an hour, and in the end I said, "All right, do you want to know?" I just shouted down the street, "All right, you want to know? I will tell you why." And then they just screamed and ran off and exploded. The explosion isn't true.
It's like the naked civil servant all over again, isn't it? Where he stood there, "You can't hurt me." Yeah. And I thought it was quite a brave thing. I remember meeting Quentin Crisp once, and he was a very interesting character.
Yeah, he came to my show. He was invited to my show. I thought because I think people thought that all LGBT people are going to dig my show, and it's not true. It's only people who like surreal comedy like my show. I do not talk about makeup for 2 hours. So it's Python fans, and you could be whatever sexually, whatever colour, skin, whatever. It's just I do surreal stuff, and that. So that has been the confusing thing. So I sort of went to express the everyone has boy genetics and girl genetics, and I've just got sort of equal amounts of both, or slightly
more. Do you have
it
on different days then? So today is
it's boy day. Yeah, I'm in boy mode, and then girl mode. I was in girl mode yesterday, and tomorrow.
So do you think differently?
Nope.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, I'm just
do things differently?
Nope.
You just know that you're in girl mode or boy mode.
Yeah, just wear slightly.
How greedy.
Well, I know. Well, I've tried to carve this thing out. I am sort of improvising this through, but there was no. You couldn't follow anyone. There wasn't anyone. Okay, even though there were certain people who come out and they had transitioned, I had a lot of boy genetics going on. I love soccer. I lived for football, soccer when I was a kid, and I got all this boy stuff going on. So I got boy and so I've played my cards how I thought was positive, and I thought if anyone can slipstream behind me and say, okay, I'm a bit like that guy, fine. But meanwhile, I wanted to do comedy and then drama and not have it get in the way, and trying to pull that out, because I'm not necessarily the go-to person. Hey, let's put that guy in this role. But now I've mucked about it so much that everyone goes, okay, you can do that role and you can do that comedy show, and it doesn't sort of matter. Everyone's calmed down over the last 30 years.
Yes, they have. There must be so much going on in your mind, though, all the time, especially when you're doing a show like yours, because it's got to be written, but there must be times where you veer off.
I do veer off a lot. Less so now. I actually distill down shows. Sarah Townsend, who directed the Believe documentary, I got her to direct this show, and we're constantly trying to distill it to get a better show, as opposed to I used to constantly change it so the show kept moving, which meant you never got the perfect show. But distilling it down into a better and better show, that's why Force Majeure Reloaded, as it's called this time, is in such a good place. I just played Hollywood Bowl a few months ago, and then I toured the same show in French, and I did it in German last year, and so they're all getting it, from Moscow to LA, Cape Town to London.
Isn't that clever, though? You can take a show that will work across the world.
It's not that difficult, actually. Anyone can do it. You just got to make sure your references are universal. That's the problem.
Right.
It's not the sense of humour problem. It's not like the national.
It's making sure the references are right.
Yeah, if you're saying, I was eating a curly whirly, I was on a 159 to Streatham, and suddenly I thought about Edwina Carey and John Major. And then if you go to outside Britain, they'll go, no, that's making any reference point. But you could say I was on a bus and going in the South London, in the city I live, and I was eating a nougat and chocolatey sweetie thing, which has got a lattice type based thing. It was a big favourite in my time. It's called the Curly Whirly. And I was thinking of the Prime Minister some years back, and he had an affair with someone who was another minister. You know, so you could explain, if you explain your terms, you can go into it. That's why I talk about Richard the Lionheart and his younger brother King John Lackland, who lost France. That's why they call him Bad King John. He's always the guy in the Robin Hood films. But they spoke French. They all spoke French. All, after the Norman kings, 330 years of French-speaking kings. No one tells us this at school. They argue over how little English Richard the Lionheart spoke. He was going, well, I don't know. He wasn't even saying that. He was going, no, c'est pas maintenant. When they were fighting, there were these French nobles fighting French nobles with Saxon guys saying, shall I just get this now, right? Which is probably why English dropped all its endings and all because no one was in control of it. 330 years, English could make its own rules, and we dropped all the endings on masculine, feminine, neuters, and all the declensions. We just binned the lot, it seems.
What an interesting person you are. No, seriously, I don't mean that in a patronising way.
No, well, that's my brother's theory. He's an expert in linguistics, and he translates all the shows. Mark Izzard, so French, German, and Spanish. He's pretty
because having seen your act so many times and seen it over the years, when you're sort of standing, it's almost like you're sort of talking to yourself at some point. It's a case of the audience; they are there and they're sort of providing the buffer for you. But it's a case of you're sort of musing to yourself, like I do on the radio, because I don't have an audience. I just sit there, and if the producer's looking my way, it's a bonus. And if he smiles at something, you think it's an even bigger bonus. So I get the feeling you're doing it, and it's a bit like that.
I think it is. I think it's very similar to that. Yeah, well, it's because you hopefully tabulate your brain so that this should work with an audience. Sometimes, a great thing with my audience is that if they go completely silent for a period of time, I can go, none of this is not working at all. No, so don't ever talk about pig farming.
Yes.
And so I never.
Harry Humphreys did the same. They would record his shows, and at the end they would go through them. Which one's got a laugh? And he put something in there. Okay, we'll include that in tomorrow.
Oh, that's not quite what I do. Is I just do a mime on my hand in the show.
Don't do it.
Don't talk about what I just talked about, because no one's and they will laugh at that bit. And it's an expert way. It's an excellent way of getting out, because if you don't get laughs on the way in, you can get laughs on the way out. It's the way of getting out of screw up, if I can say those words.
Well, too late you have, so that'll be another programme we can't run. Anyway, lovely to talk to you.
Very nice to talk to you.
Great pleasure. Force Majeure Reloaded. It's the final run, 18th of January, all the way through to the 20th of February. As I say, you need to get in quick, because they will sell out, and he's going to be a tired bunny, but I hope you have a very pleasant Christmas.
Thank you.
At home, will you be?
Yes, I will be at home with my father down in Bexhill-on-Sea, and yes, I was thinking about this. Christmas used to be fantastic when you were a kid, just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Just no negative points. And as an adult, it's got really quite complicated. And I've realised it's because you have to do everything as an adult. The kids just sit there. I didn't do anything as a kid. I just rolled up and all this
Didn't even put the tree up.
No, it all music went on, candles were lit, food appeared, presents. Didn't buy any of it. Didn't buy anyone any presents. Your parents weren't going, "Where's my present?" with your no money. You didn't. And now it's more complicated.
It certainly is. Eddie Izzard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Taking over the world, really, with their properties, and Netflix very much the sort of the coming brand in distributing these amazing shows. So the two of them together, they've splashed out a bit on this.
They have a little bit.